Welcome to From Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. I'm your host, a holistic healing coach, divorce recovery coach, and a passionate advocate for personal growth and your guide on the journey to healing. This podcast is for those who are struggling with the feelings of loneliness, disconnection, feeling stuck, and who are ready to discover their inner potential and live a life overflowing with love and connection. Inside, we're going to explore the path from pain to transformation, bridging the gap between loneliness and abundance through heartfelt conversations, spirituality, energy work, and self-awareness. So let's get started on this soulful journey together. Welcome to another episode From Loneliness to Overflow with Matina. Today's guest is a beautiful soul with whom I had an amazing conversation just a few days ago. And in that conversation, we got to unpack. We got to see the true essence of ourselves, the struggles, the hardships, but also truly the vastness of the richness that we behold. And Shanel is no exception to that. Her light shines brighter. Her light is all about service and about helping others move into the highest alignment for themselves. With so many different things that she does and so many amazing magic that she brings, if you will, it is all about owning that element of ourselves that is not contained in the past and cannot be contained in the present or the future. But how do you live that life when you are not embodying it yourself? So we talked in depth about that last time, and I'm sure it's going to come up today as well, so that all of the listeners can receive the wisdom that this beautiful soul beholds and how she shares it so willingly and openly with everyone. Welcome, Shanel.
Thank you so much, and thank you for that introduction. I'm melting a little bit over here. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, you're so welcome. Such an amazing conversation. My heart, my soul was lifted when I left the conversation. It was just like that joyful message, and the moment was just taken throughout the day for me. And I was like, oh my God, of course this happened. Of course this happened. And this conversation is going to be no different. For those who do not know you, Shanel, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, my name is Shanel. My business is called From the Heart and Soul. I am a psychic medium and a healer, and I've been practicing professionally for over 15 years. I have a huge, huge passion for the healing arts. I'm not your typical psychic I'm not going to tell you when you're getting married and where you're going to meet your love and all those like fun things that everybody wants to know. I'm going to tell you where your block is. I'm going to tell you where you need to do healing work. And that is my passion, is holding the hands of others to watch everybody win.
To watch everybody win.
Everybody.
No exception.
No exception to that one at all.
Even this sentence, to watch everybody win, is expansive. But you don't get to that expansion if you haven't gotten to own and want to have everyone win in your own surroundings as well.
Yeah.
So with that, Shanel, like what was your disconnection or loneliness moment that has actually led you into your overflow right now?
Yeah, I feel like that's a two-part question for me. And it goes back to two marriages, sadly. My first marriage, I got married right out of university, had my first child a year or so later. I guess more like 2 years later. I got pregnant about a year or so later. And it was marriage that should never have happened. I definitely was doing the things that I thought were supposed to come next. And I was so low by the end of that marriage. My ex was in a really bad place. We had purchased his mom's house, who passed away days before our wedding. And it just was eating his soul alive. And it was one of those things where when he said, let's get divorced, I was like, okay, let's do this, because I should never have done it in the first place. And that one set me free and allowed me to kind of rebuild myself, but I still fell into the same kind of patterns and belief systems that got me into trouble the first time with my second marriage. Now, I totally believed this guy was it. We had an incredible relationship and an incredible marriage to the point that when he walked out on me one day, out of the blue, no warning. He had been acting sort of funny for about a week or two, but that's it. Like that was the only change. And he literally, we put the kids to bed and he was like, I need to get out of here. And he grabbed a pair of pajama pants and a toothbrush and left and went to his parents' house. And the next day, his mom stopped by to check on me because she was going to buy him a bed so that he could stay. And I was like, what? Um, that was probably the lowest point for me, though. I was suddenly a single mom of a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old, and a 9-year-old. And I was like, okay, what do I do now? And I was just broken. But then there was also this realization of how I had not done the work. That I thought I was kind of doing the work because I had stepped back onto my spiritual path in between those two husbands and really like started to walk a spiritual path. I was doing my Reiki training. I was tapping into my intuition that I hadn't done in years. And I was really stepping back into connection, crystals and healing and things like that. But I wasn't doing the inside work. And I didn't see that. And I think when I recognized that, that was the hardest part, is that had I actually paused and really taken care of myself, then maybe I wouldn't have landed where I was. But I really recognized that most of my life, I was forcing. I was never flowing. I was just forcing.
There's a very subtle difference in force and flow.
Oh, yeah.
And we can get into that. But before I do that, I want to ask you this question because when we get to work on ourselves, we are going to yoga, we are doing our spiritual practices, we are doing self-care, we are going to the spa, we're taking care of our own bodies, eating healthy, and we're like, okay, I'm doing the work. Look at me, or just that proudness of what we feel for ourselves, like I'm doing the work. When you're sharing, that's what I'm envisioning is like you're doing the work, you're showing up, you are living life, and you're allowing life to live you. So when you say, I wasn't really doing the work, what was that distinction for you in your own storyline where you're like, that specific point is when I realized, and this is what I did after?
Yeah, I love the way that you explained it because as you were talking, I was like, ugh. I was the person that took care of everybody else. I was one that dropped everything to make sure that everybody else was okay. And I always came second. I was always this secondary force because it was about fitting in. It wasn't about sticking out. It was about not rocking the boat. It was about making everybody else easy so that we could just get where we needed to be. And I didn't make time for myself. I didn't do things for myself. I just did what everybody else needed. And even to the point where, like, I absolutely was my ex-husband's mom. I was not his wife. Like, I cooked, cleaned, took care of everything, organized everybody's schedules, did all the bills, blah, blah, blah. Like, I just was totally lost in the identity of mom and wife and everything else and didn't know who I was anymore.
Yeah.
So for me, one of the hardest things to do was to recognize that I had to put myself first and that had to be a priority. Otherwise, I was no good to anybody else. So I started making time for a yoga practice or just even like a hot bath by myself or like telling the kids, I'm going to sit in the backyard and meditate for 5 minutes. I'll open the door when I'm done and you can come out and hang out with me then. And, 5 minutes isn't going to hurt them. Or, getting up 30 minutes earlier than what I knew they would be up so that I could, pull some angel cards and drink my tea and in quiet to start my day from a peaceful place. And I think we get caught up in grand gesture versus the simplicity of what spirituality and magic actually is. And it is things like that 5 minutes of quiet or taking a few deep breaths and just recognizing when we need a break. I always tease that, as a single mom, the one place we got a tiny bit of solace was when we closed a bathroom door. They didn't want to come in after a certain point. They weren't interested in being in there. When they're little, they just want in regardless. But there came a point where, like, if I needed to go cry for 5 minutes or I needed to take a few deep breaths, if I just closed the bathroom door for 5 minutes, I could get that for the most part. But it was really hard. The mom guilt that I felt for taking care of myself was insane. And I think that was the biggest obstacle that I had to face. And when I did, I started to be present in myself. And then I could see things like red flags in relationships, or when I was bending to fit in, or when I wasn't taking care of myself or making time for myself. Like, yeah, it was insane, like the shift that happened. And it was, again, it was so easy. All of a sudden there was flow and I wasn't forcing it. And it was just like, how is it that there's more time to do these things as a single mom than there was when I was in a relationship?
I feel that to my bones.
Yeah.
You actually also answered the question, the difference between force and flow.
Yeah.
And
I never thought that concept could grow more than it did in that moment, but it hasn't stopped. And I still get these moments of going, this is too easy. And then I go, no, this is just me not fighting it anymore. This is me doing a full surrender. And even, the word surrender, everybody thinks that's like give up, wave the white flag, but it's not give up. It just means that we actually sit back and go, okay, this is happening. How do I be a part of it? Or how do I accept it? Or how do I move through it? We're not giving up anything by surrendering other than the force.
the force is what, as women, we're taught we must hold on to.
Absolutely.
It is something we are taught to have so much guilt around.
Mm-hmm.
And guilt is not necessarily only that what we are experiencing in this lifetime, it's also the guilt that our ancestors and their ancestors and their ancestors have experienced, but not able to fully let go of. So it is already, if you will, embedded in our energy field as to that is normal.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you feel? Have you come across and build that bridge, if you will, above the pile of guilt and be like, nope, that pile, that mountain, not for me. I'm going to walk above it and around it because I'm done with this.
Yeah, my big joke these days is this generation has chosen to do generational healing, and I'm not sure why we all chose to do it together, but what? So I think it's so potent that you said that, because we have to remember that we got taught this. The sad part about the generational piece is that this trickle down happens where this person didn't know better, and so then this person knows even less, and this person even, so we are so contained by those belief systems and actions that our people before us came. And I think for me, that was one of the big things, is that I was done repeating what other women in my family had done. And I had seen it in my aunties, in my mom, in my grandma, although my grandpa was an amazing man. There's still this piece of my grandma raised 6 kids, and, she did it on a small budget, and like what she had to sacrifice for them to have that size of a family and all of those things. But there was definitely like this point where I just was kind of like, I'm not doing this anymore. And it was the strangest thing, because it was literally just a decision. And we, again, think we have to do all these grand gestures to like, and it really just started with the decision that this was not mine anymore. But I think the other side of that too is our children pick us.
Yes.
And they chose this. and they chose to be with us on this journey. And I kind of go to that place and go, if this is my journey and this is my dharma, that I have to clear this generational trauma so they don't have to feel it, and I get to teach them how to take care of themselves, I'm going to stop being guilty.
Oof.
And start looking at what I'm showing my children, because I see how the mistakes, and I don't even like the word mistakes, but those things that I wish I could change in my life, although they made me who I am, I recognize that I probably wouldn't have done some of those things if I had had a different role model. But my parents were just being the role models that they were shown to be, and they were doing the very best with their circumstances, and I chose them.
Yes, you chose them just as your kids and my kids chose me and you for their own journey.
Absolutely.
And there's no finger pointing. There's no blaming. There is no like you should have known better or whatever. In the energy of their lifetime, that was okayed.
Yeah. Somebody asked me about that, like this piece of like, in this moment, I didn't know better and I did the thing or whatever, and why. And I'm like, it's the same concept. We were moving from the vibration, the knowledge, the wisdom that we had. And yes, today we can turn around and look backwards and go, I shouldn't have done that. Or maybe there was a better choice for me in that. But we vibrationally were not at that place where we could see that, feel that, hear that, accept that. So we did that thing. And they were like, oh, because again, it was like this permission slip. This like, stop judging yourself for not knowing better. It's that whole Maya Angelou, like, when you know better, you do better. And it's like, but if you didn't know better, you couldn't be expected to do better. And yet we'll still beat ourselves up for going there. And it's like, what if we just stop judging ourselves and start accepting ourselves? And acceptance around the choices that we made or the belief systems that we held, and going, that was me keeping myself safe in that moment. And now that I know better, I can just say thank you for that and have acceptance, because acceptance is so important to our journey. But now I can also have gratitude and embody something different because I know better.
Before we dive back in, I have something transformative to share with you. It's called the Alignment Collective, Release, Rebuild, and Rise, my signature group coaching program designed to help you unlock the life you deserve. Every month, we focus on a key area of life, from health to relationships, career, and more. In the first 2 weeks, we energetically release what's holding you back. Then we shift into calling in the abundance and clarity that you desire. And in the final week, we come together for powerful group coaching, sharing our wins, our challenges, and raising the collective energy. Are you ready to release what doesn't serve you, rebuild your foundation, and rise into your potential? Try it for 50% off with discount code GROWTH. Visit matinasingh.com/meditation. The link is also found in the description. I can't wait to support you on this journey. The mom guilt that you chose to go around and to say to, no, this is not mine, and it's okay for me to walk over it and go around it and be like, this is done, is something that women specifically, and it goes beyond that mom guilt. It goes literally this womanhood that we carry and that we are choosing. If you have children, not have children, that's not the point. The point is like, where in your own life do you stop yourself, or do you tell yourself, I can't do this because A, B, and C? And even though that this thing is calling you, this thing is a part of your soul, it's a part of your journey, it's a part of you that needs and gets to be embodied if you choose to. Shanel, what you're sharing is not only did you recognize in your journey and through 2 separations, which are huge moments, because divorce is literally uprooting yourself from one area of life and planting yourself differently in a different area where you don't know what the area is going to feel like. You don't know how much you're going to bloom into it. You don't know how you're going to cater to the surroundings and yourself so that you can stand strong. But when we are uprooting ourselves from one area to another, we are also saying, I must take care of my own roots now, otherwise they will never go as deep as they can to stand tall.
Yeah.
And so many women who go through a divorce, who go through a separation, who go to the end of a relationship and go into a new environment where they get somewhat, not completely, but somewhat a clean slate, sadly don't root themselves deep enough to stand tall.
Yeah.
And those roots almost like I was like a little bit in, but then out into the next person, next situation, or next this or the other, where you become dependent on that other thing, be that another flower, be that another tree, be that whatever, but it's not rooted in our own sense of self. So what you shared is that you got into the flow because you own and welcome that own sense of self, so the roots go deeper and deeper into the ground and are held and loved. What would be your message to the woman who's listening right now and who is wondering, like, what is that one thing I can do today to help myself further?
Oh. I often say the biggest step we can make is just by simply making the choice in our own head. We don't have to tell anybody else. We don't have to let anybody else judge it, give us advice, tell us we're doing the wrong thing, asking us what we're thinking. We just keep it to ourselves. And even if it's just a day, a week, a month, whatever, sometimes that choice that you make is the power that starts those roots growing again, that starts us blooming again. And it's powerful when we have people that can support us in that journey. But like I said, sometimes we just need to make that decision for ourselves and let it be about us and just us. And I've seen it so many times with friends and with clients, and they make one tiny decision. You know, something simple that just is that like catapult or that ripple effect, that stone in the pond that just says, okay, I did this. And then it's that piece of like flowing where it's like we're not even forcing, we're not even looking for it, but just that next thing that rolls in and that next thing that rolls in. And all of a sudden we're in this like tidal wave of like amazingness. And we didn't even recognize it just started with one choice. It's one choice.
And like you said, it doesn't need to be big.
No. And we get caught up in that, right? And again, I think this is like a societal thing. We talk about life purpose and it's this grand thing, or we have to make a decision. It's this big thing. And it's like, no, what if it's just this really simple thing that we do? And when we stop making things these grand gestures and these really big deals, we start doing things that we were like, I've been wanting to do this forever. And we just do it because we stopped making it this grand thing. And we just started going, is this in alignment with me? Yeah. Okay. I'm going to do it. We plug in the podcast mic. We record that first video. We, make the mindset change. We go look at, finding a new career, whatever it is. Like we're a society that likes to make things complicated. And the reality is that spirituality is so incredibly simple.
It is that one little action, but that one little action, like you said, can be that 5 minutes meditation. It can be 5 minutes in the bathroom. It can be 5 minutes when you're sipping on your tea, telling yourself, I love myself.
Yeah.
And knowing that one little choice that feels and seems irrelevant is going to have a ripple effect all around us that's going to create these waves of movement that we're going to go through. Yet, what I also have seen, and I've seen it in my journeys, I'm curious to hear if you've experienced that too. Whereas, like, we put this pond, there's one little action, that ripple effect is in motion.
Mm-hmm.
But then we say, oh, that wasn't enough.
Mm.
And it feels like this ripple effect, which could have gone so much further, stops because
Yeah.
we claimed it wasn't enough.
So, yeah, I think we've all been there, right? Where we kind of like second guess ourselves. We move into imposter syndrome. So, my magic that I learned, well, the law of attraction is magic in itself. And I think that's something always to remember, that piece of like where we put our focus, our energy flows. And so when we start putting our focus on that imposter syndrome, we like shift the flow from the thing we want to the, and we take our vibration back down again. So one of the things that I started to do, and I don't even know where I heard it, somewhere along the line, somebody told me, I don't know, but I started to shift and go, I'm going to focus on the solution, even if I don't know what the solution is. And it helps me to stop going to that place of like, oh, that wasn't enough. It allows me to stay in that expansiveness of like, this is what it is, and it's going to show me the next thing because I'm focused on the solution and not the problem. And that, for some people, they think, okay, that's just crazy because if you don't know what the solution is, how are you supposed to get to it? And I'm like, yeah, but I can't focus on the problem because it creates more of the problem. I need to focus on the solution and the energy of the thing that I want to achieve instead. And it's just a simple choice of like, where do I put my energy? But again, I literally yesterday had that moment of like, oh, oops, because I was looking at something I was doing and it was like a little webinar that I did and it asked about like, what is the thing that you've been working on? What are the actions that you've been taking? And then it like asked you to kind of tap into the energy of that. And I was like, oh, it's the energy that I'm putting into that action, which is the wrong energy. And it was like this moment of like, huh, okay, there's a place I need to shift. That's a question I need to ask myself. What's the energy that I'm putting into the thing that I'm doing? When we have tasks that we don't enjoy, bookkeeping, landing pages, website design, all the stuff as business owners that we're like cringy about, you know, what the energy we carry when we're making those website changes or whatever is the energy we're putting into that. So we better be infusing it with joy. So even that question, you know, that one choice that we make, if we can just make it with joy and try to really hold on to it. And when that voice sneaks in and says, then we go, no, 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 I'm in joy right now and I'm not letting you ruin this for me. And yeah, it takes time to get to that place. But when you find that place where you're just like, I'm not letting the voice in my head win, it's a powerful shift. And again, it's one choice. One choice.
I've noticed this theme in all of your sharing today, where it's all about honoring yourself and the journey that you've been on, not going and being consumed by guilt and allowing that to stop you, not going and being consumed by, is this enough or am I enough, and letting that stop you, and choosing just a higher frequency. The one frequency that you mentioned is joy. What are other one or two other frequencies that you choose consciously? They're like, okay, this is when I choose this, like joy. When I choose joy, I am fueling whatever I'm doing with joy in that moment. So what are other two or three frequencies like that? Those are helpful for me too, so that the listener can be like, oh, I can choose that. I can do that. Like, right? Like, let's help each other.
Yeah. Oh, I love this question. Love is always one for me. I am a lover. I wear my heart on my sleeve. And I think even when we look at a lot of the other frequencies, love is like this underlying frequency that's like there in everything, right? So like I love that thing that I'm doing. It brings me joy, right? So then there's that underlying love, definitely fun, playful, fun, right? Like we need that. The more that we are, I always say like the universe conspires when we're having fun. And I am a Disney junkie at heart. I am a hardcore. I got married at Disney. That's how much I love Disney. And I think for me there's this piece of like I go there, I get to disconnect from the world, and I get to go and play and have fun. And I eat the food and I drink the drinks and I ride the rides and I laugh my face off and we take the silly pictures and we wear the silly clothes. And there's this, again, there's this like infusion of love and joy and happiness and fun. And I think we forget fun as adults. So
Yes.
go stand in the rain and dance, or jump in the puddle, or jump on the swing at the playground, or, what are the things that bring you joy? If it's going to get an ice cream sometimes, go and do it, or that hot slice of pizza, or, whatever it is, going to pick the flowers, picking the dandelions and making them, braiding them into a chain, whatever it is. It's like that piece of like what brings you so much like pleasure. And I think the other one for me is just like spirituality. Like I love being connected. I love feeling the flow. And when I'm in the flow, there's something so magical about that. And it's hard to pull me out of it. Like it's hard to be like that voice sneaks in and I'm like, no, sorry. I'm connected to the divine right now and you're not welcome here. Like go away. I literally say to my mind some days, it's not your turn. You need to just step to the side until I'm finished with my soul. Like over there.
As you're sharing that, one thing that's coming through is like, and I get to do this now because like this is just, oh my God, it's so good. I too choose fun. I too choose joy and love. Flow, I don't necessarily have chosen yet, but I will definitely step into and try that out as well. But one thing, like yourself, what I also do is like, okay, no. I don't want to go there. That's too stressful. I can't deal with that right now. I'm here. I am present with love right now. I'm present with joy right now. And I push that aside. But what just came through as you were talking was like, instead of pushing aside, it's like I will allow the frequency of joy or of love or whatever you are in to fuel you so the solution is seen by me now.
Yeah.
Woo.
The
And
truth bubbles.
energy moves to that. So we're not necessarily pushing it away, but we're actually like fueling it with the joy and the frequency of love that we are upholding in ourselves and allowing the solutions to come through.
Yeah. I love that you said not pushing it away, because acceptance is so important to our healing journey and we tend to push away the parts that we don't like. But the reality is there has to be acceptance. There's acceptance in that voice in my head snuck in. I'm going to acknowledge that you were here. Thank you. I'm going to write down this is what I was thinking about. You came in and I told you to go back away. And then when I'm done doing what I'm doing and I'm in that good place, I can go back and go, oh, I see it, right? This belief system was sneaking in or whatever. And then we look at it in such a different way.
Oh,
But
totally.
you saying not pushing it away, I was like, yeah, because there is acceptance. That was a part of us that kept us safe for so long.
Yes. Yes,
We can't
absolutely.
just disregard it because it did. It kept us safe. That negative voice in our head, or, the imposter syndrome, for whatever reason, it kept us safe. So we do have to say thank you. And then we can flow.
We get to definitely say thank you. We get to also infuse it with the knowing and the energy that you're in right now because it will
Yeah.
allow the newer awareness to land faster in our own new evolution.
Yeah.
And your journey, Shanel, let's go back to that because I know this all of this aligns beautifully with that. So here you are going through two difficult situations. having this to start your own self journey, going above this mountain of guilt, going across from, okay, this is what brings me joy. I'm going to own joy right now. I'm going to own fun right now. I'm going to own parts of me that really are fueling my heart beyond the logic, beyond the to-do list and all of those things. What has that led you to?
Oh, so many amazing things in my life. It has allowed me to stand up as it trickled in. It has allowed me to stand up full size and to be who I am and to allow myself space to have people in my life that accept me for who I am. My husband, I hit the jackpot. He let us get married in Disney. I hit the jackpot. But I don't think that I could have met him and been with him had it not been for the journey that I had taken and the soul work that I had done. Because for me, I was not going to be with someone who didn't accept me for who I was and allowed me to do the work that I needed to do and to do the self-care and so on and so on. And my husband is just, he stands by my side. He doesn't want to be above me or below me. He wants to be my equal. And finding someone that allows me to do that was huge. But also this journey is, I threw caution to the wind so many times where I started doing a recorded weekly message. Like it was started as oracle cards, sharing it that way, and it turned into channeled messages. I think I've been doing that since like 2012, 2013, every week. And, my podcast, I literally one day went, okay, I'm plugging in the mic. Here we go. Let's do the thing. There's so many things in my life that had I not been in the place that I'm in, where I find flow and I just take the risks and then take the leaps and I just listen to my intuition. There's so many things in my life that I wouldn't have if I hadn't done that. And I am in such a place where I feel like I am in so much alignment with my life right now. And I'm so grateful for the journey, for the things that I've learned, and then being able to share those with other people to allow, like I said before, everyone to win. I'm not going to hold it all to myself. I learned too many good things to not share them with other people so that they can also, learn and grow and
Yes.
become the person that they really wanted to be.
Absolutely. It goes back to allowing everyone to win.
Yeah.
And there is no blame or shame or guilt for yourself or others for that matter, because there's just love, there's just joy, there's just flow. One thing you said, Shanel, and I'm lovingly saying this, is like, I hit the jackpot, I was lucky. Well, no, because you consciously made a choice of being in a specific vibration, to being and growing yourself to the deeper forms of yourself, to being open enough to seeing the parts of you that weren't that beautiful, that you kind of tucked away and pushed aside because no one wants to see that. No. You need to see that for yourself, for no one else to see, but for yourself to acknowledge, for yourself to grow through and evolve from. And had you not done that, as you said, you would not have met him. So there's no luck factor. There is a work factor, but there's also this bliss factor that when so many people go and talk about, oh, I'm just not lucky in love.
Yeah.
Yes, you are. You are love. But the frequency is not matching to love, for which you're not finding love.
Yes. Thank you for calling me out on that, because I needed to be, because you're exactly right. It isn't about alignment. It is about frequency. And it is about this piece of like, what are the frequency of those two people and can they come together? It isn't luck. It is about what we bring to the table and how we decide to show up.
Yes.
And the relationships we find are mirrors of ourselves. And I think that's another place where we get to go back and really look at them. Like, I really recognize that my first two marriages were just reflections of where I was.
Mm-hmm.
But this marriage that I'm in now is also a reflection of where I am. And I'm so proud of that.
Own it.
Yes,
This is what the mind will
absolutely.
do, right? This, oh my God, I love the fact that we are having this beautiful raw conversation, because this is what exactly the mind will do. We will tell ourselves a story. We will sell the story to ourselves to be like, oh, I'm just lucky in this way. No, no, no. Hold on, girl. You did the work. You did exactly and embody exactly what you want to attract.
We
Therefore,
also say we're unlucky in it, right? Oh, I never get lucky in love. Well, you just told a story that the universe went, oh, you're unlucky in love here. Let me give you some more lack of luck. But also that piece of like, what is the story that you're telling? What is the mirror that you're holding up for yourself? You know,
yes.
I think that's a really big part of our spiritual journey is this willingness to see. I'm in this place where like if we are open and vulnerable and willing to see ourselves for who we are without judgment, we get to change that. It's when we allow the judgment and stuff to come in that we start knocking ourselves down instead of saying, okay, I made this choice. This is why I made it. This is the belief system that it's around. I don't want to hold that belief system anymore. So I'm going to create this belief system that creates safety in my body that allows me to make better choices going forward. But we have to be willing to see it.
It is a choice that we get to be in. It is something that we get to embody, we get to hold up to and live from beyond the imagination. And I am absolutely so grateful for you to being so open and vulnerable in this, so that whatever guidance comes through and how I am learning from this conversation and the listeners are learning from the conversations, you are also evolving from the conversation. And collectively, we are just choosing better.
Yeah.
Ooh, so good.
Okay.
So I have a question for you that the
Oh,
previous guest has left.
okay.
I'm very curious how you're going to answer this because it's so fitting.
Okay.
The question is, how are you being a lighthouse? How are you being a lighthouse to show people the way?
Leading by example and also being willing to share my story, regardless of how messy it is, because it just shows others that you're not alone on this journey. We've all walked through the muck in some way, shape, or form, in some capacity. And if I can get to the other side, then you can get to the other side. So if we hold that light and that willingness to share, to be vulnerable, to be open, to give freely, it just creates space for others to shine their light just as bright and to recognize and to share and and it's just like that beautiful trickle out.
Yes. We only get to know each other for a very short period of time. However, I definitely can feel your sincerity of wanting to be that lighthouse that shines so bright and just enlightens her environment in service.
Yeah.
But to be that lighthouse, you had to fill yourself with the light to showcase that light to others. So
Yep.
I am so grateful that you did. I'm so grateful that you're on this journey of service, of helping, of guiding, of being this vessel of authenticity. Even this conversation right here, right now, it's been very raw, very authentic, and we are all learning from a perspective of openness, of love, of light. And that whole old dynamic of judgment and pain and guilt and hurt is on the side because it has evolved along the way with us. For anyone who feels inspired by Shanel and her journey and what she does in this beautiful world, all her information is in the description below. Please, please, please do reach out, connect with her, follow her, and fuel yourself with another way. Choose what is that 5-minute change for you, that little choice that feels insignificant, and allow that ripple effect to go beyond borders so that you can be pleasantly surprised and receive the gifts that you're meant to receive. Thank you so much, Shanel, for your beautiful light today.
Thank you so much, Matina, for having me and allowing such a beautiful sacred space to have these conversations that are so important to the rest of the world. So thank you. Thank you for holding space today.
It is absolutely my honor. Thank you. And till next time, ladies, take care. Thank you for listening. I hope this episode has helped you to feel less alone in finding tools towards a life which is overflowing with love and purpose. If you enjoyed the episode, please take a second to rate and review. Each review helps us to reach more individuals who are seeking healing and personal growth just like you. And don't forget to take a screenshot and share your aha moments on your Instagram stories and tag me, Singh Matina. See you next week. Take care.